Hey guys, Dave again. How are you? Yeah, so you guys saw the title of this one. Joe Biden's trying to kill family farms. I definitely think this one impacts Wyoming as well as a lot of other areas. And I know we got a lot of people from the Midwest that watch the channel. Appreciate all of you. So I don't normally on this channel like to call out one political candidate. Now we did with Sheila Jackson on the gun bill. She's the one that introduced it. Joe Biden's the one that has made these comments and is pushing for this, so that's where this is coming from. Realistically, don't care who the politician is. I don't care where they come from. We just report things that impact people from Wyoming and around the country. So anyway, let's dig into that one before we get a bunch of NIMBYs down in the comments. So what's going on and how's Joe going to kill family farms? So basically in 2019, Joe was out on the campaign trail and he said he wanted to give everybody 2 years of free community college. Now, that's great and it's very altruistic and fantastic. Everybody wants to go 2 years of free community college. They asked Joe how Joe was going to pay for this program. And Joe was like, I'm going to get rid of the stepped up inheritance tax benefit, if you will. So nobody really took him serious because it was perceived then that we were going to have a divided Congress and it really wasn't going to matter. Congress really passes tax policy. You can't do that with an executive order. So whatever, it's kind of fallen along the wayside. But now here we are, and he's still pushing for this $1.9 trillion stimulus plan that he now wants to do, which includes student debt forgiveness. So looking at that and looking what he said in the past, like we have to figure out a way to pay for that. And I think this is the way that they pay for that. And this is some of the outcome that's going to come from that. This isn't fear mongering. This is a potential. And I want you guys to see what's possibly coming. And this is going to be really ugly if you're a generational family farmer or if you own a home. And I'll get into how this impacts you. So let's go ahead and run through what's stepped up tax basis. Don't worry about it. I'll give you an example and I'll show you. The second thing that Joe wants to do in this though, and it'll also highlight in the example, Joe wants to change capital gains from roughly 15% as it currently is to 39.6%, which is in line with your higher income tax bracket. He wants to tax it like regular income, effectively doing away with capital gains. So capital gains is you have a long-term asset, you sell it, you pay taxes to the tune of 15% on the difference of what you paid versus what you sold. So let's run through our example. I hope you guys watch this show. The show's awesome. So we'll use a realistic, fictional example here. Anyway, so we got a rancher farmer. Let's call him John Dutton. All right. So John Dutton owns a generational ranch to the tune of 300,000 acres. Okay. So John's got this giant ranch, been in his family forever. His family originally staked the ranch, didn't pay a nickel for the ranch. They just had to fight their entire life to keep the ranch. So John's got 3 kids. He's got a girl, 2 boys. Realistically, he's got a 4th kid who's the best kid. We'll call that kid Rip, right? So when John's dad died and the ranch went from John's dad to John, the stepped up tax basis inheritance loop thing, whatever you want to call it, kicked in. And basically what it said was when John's dad died, the value of the ranch got reassessed at today's value and assigned to John. So the ranch went from, let's say, a $0 value because John's dad staked the ranch to $100 million for John. Well, John didn't have to pay any taxes on that because of the stepped up basis. So John got to keep the ranch without having to pay taxes on it. It passed to him. So now Joe's going to change that. And here's what's going to happen. So John will now pass away and he'll leave the ranch to Rip. Yeah. All right. So way to go, Rip. Rip's super excited, right? Rip's now a giant ranch owner, barring the fact that his dad died. Let's ignore that fact. But Rip is super excited to be a giant ranch owner. Okay. So Joe has now changed the tax law. So instead of being a stepped up basis for Rip and him getting to keep the ranch and carry on, Rip now has to pay taxes on what John paid for the ranch, which is 0. So the ranch is now assessed at $10,000 an acre, thanks to Willa Hayes and her 50,000 acre offer. It values the ranch at $3 billion. Okay? So Rip, there's a lot of R's in this, sorry. So Rip now has to come up with the taxes for $3 billion, which normally would be 15% capital gains, which is bad enough. Ton of money, $450 million Rip would have to come up with there on $3 billion. But Joe has also increased capital gains to now the normal income rate, which is 39.6%. So our boy Rip, in order to keep the ranch that's been in the family for generations, now has to come up with $1,188,000,000, or else he loses the ranch. What do you think happens to Rip? Rip's forced to sell. Great for Rip in that he got a bunch of money, but he lost his generational ranch, which I think to him would mean more. So, if you go ahead and extrapolate this to modern day, there's a lot of family ranches out there that will fall in this scenario. They don't have 40% of land value sitting around in cash that they can raise to pay these kinds of taxes. Joe Biden is going to kill family ranching with this approach. There's just no way for a family ranch to survive. And you're like, that's great, that's rich people problems, $3 billion, this, that, and the other. Let me give you a scenario where it applies to you and I. So, you work really hard. You bought a house for $200,000. Congratulations. Welcome to the party. I think you're going to be in a minority here in the long run. If you don't own a house by now, I think they're going to continue to just exponentially become unaffordable for your average person. So congratulations, you give yourself a pat on the back. Great work. So you bought this house for $200,000. You live for another 30 years, and the house appreciates at roughly 3% per year. So you pass away. You want to leave the house to your child. So the house, after appreciating at 3%, is now assessed at $485,000, $485,452.49. Okay? You've paid property taxes on it the whole time, but that's the new assessed value. Those property taxes don't matter. Your child now has to come up with $113,039.19 in order to keep the house that you've worked and paid property taxes on for the last 30 years, if they want to keep it. Otherwise, they're in the same boat as Rip. They have to sell the house to pay the taxes, and then they can keep the difference. This is going to kill generational wealth. It's going to kill the lower class, the middle class, and the rich. This is just going to hammer everyone. Like, understand this is really, really bad. And if you're a rancher and you want to keep your ranch and your family, it's going to get exponentially harder to do unless you're sitting on 40% of land value to pay these insane taxes so that we can forgive college debt and send people to 2 years of free community college. Like, at some point, I don't know where push comes to shove, but this is scary. You know, I mean, he keeps pushing these huge spending bills. We're going to have to pay it back. I think this is one of the ways that it comes down the pipe. Be ready for this. This isn't a conspiracy theory. You can go out and look it up. He's made these quotes on the campaign trail. Do the math. Apply your own. Here's just one example or two examples of how this plays out if it comes to fruition. Be ready. You know, there's a lot of family ranches in Wyoming, and they're pretty awesome. You know, when you see them driving sheep or you see them driving cattle and you're sitting there and they're all running around your car, it's a good time, you know. I know a lot of these people, they're really hardworking, good people. I don't want to see them lose their ranches. I don't want to just see corporate, big, monolithic, structured ranches. Like, there's a character, there's an authenticity there that is uniquely American. It's also Australian, but in this scenario, it's uniquely American that we need to hold on to. You know, those folks need to exist, and they need to be around. And under this pathway, they don't make it. So I tell you this, I hope that you get out, you rally and you fight. Write your elected official, call your elected official. Don't let this come down the pipe. Keep an eye out for this. Be ready to fight this, please. I think it's a very real possibility. So, sorry to have some bad news, but yeah, fight this. We can win together. I'll catch you guys in the next one.